So I think the financial model is the first problem, that access to capital is a major difficulty. The second is disruption. And we've seen this particularly during the COVID-19 crisis, where continued supply has been utterly critical, and keeping food on the shelves has been the overriding priority. But that's actually been true in food manufacturing at the macro level for a long time. And so just finding the moment where you can invest in what is by its nature quite often a disruptive intervention is a problem. And then the third thing, I think, is that it has been the perception, if not the reality, of managers who have to okay the investment and agree the investment, rather than those who are specialists in robotics who understand the nature of how robotics work.
I'd make a distinction, though, within the food industry between what I call chill food providers and long life food providers. When you're supplying into retail, particularly with chilled foods, it's very complicated because you tend to get very short run times, biological complexity, and they're just very technically difficult to automate. So there's a technical barrier as well as a business barrier in certain types of food.
I do tend to agree. You know, there's lots of challenges, particularly trying to apply robots and automation in the areas where you're handling the organic food product. But there's still lots of opportunities to apply robots for end-of-line packing applications. People probably think that that's done and everybody's automated it, but that's actually in reality not true. There are lots of food companies that still employ people to do some very basic handling, palletizing type applications at the end of the lines. And in my mind, we should be looking at automating those tasks at least, so that we can utilize the people where their skills, their attributes can add some value.
Within bakery, we tend to use robots for the heavy manual, I guess, less safe areas of the plant. So certainly in terms of handling big straps of bakeware, that kind of thing, where you've got, you know, maybe 50, 60 kilos worth of metal that you're moving around on a regular cycle basis. From an FMCG point of view, the actual the standard product that you're making doesn't tend to change much. What tends to change very, very quickly is the actual packaging format that people either want it in, or legislation is driving you towards. So
a number of our customers now are looking for more flexibility. They can't afford just to produce the same product for 3 days and then spend half a day doing a changeover. They have short batches, so they need quick changeovers, and that's maybe the target area for us at the moment, and that's where most of our orders are going at the moment.
I know a lot of the chilled producers can often be running the same product a number of times throughout the day, exactly the same product, but they've got to run it in batches to meet scheduled deliveries out to distribution depots. You know, I myself am working on projects at the moment where we've got 25 different SKUs going through a system, and some of the SKUs probably repeat only every few weeks, but other SKUs are repeating 2 or 3 times a day. So we've had to design in that flexibility right from the outset.
Sure.
If you are aware of that, then the systems can be designed to cater for it.
I think there's still plenty of opportunity for regular pick and place. So, you know, if you've got a regular product, we're looking heavily at things like pancakes and crumpets, where realistically the format isn't going to change that much, and you're either going to do them in, you know, a stack of 3 by 3 long, or, you know, 2 by 2, or that kind of thing. That's always where the opportunity is.
We're working very actively in agri. So we know there's 69,000 fruit pickers in the UK. So we're very, very active in that space. And it's not just about COVID. We've also got to think about Brexit and the immigration bill and the use of labour. Particularly EU migrant labour. So 69,000 in agri, 121,000, I think, in food processing. and we've got to think about how we're going to handle that in the future. And robotics is going to
I
be
think
key.
the game changer here is, to some degree, the COVID-19 impact on social distancing. And is it possible? I mean, there's a big question mark that was asked a big question that was asked at the start of the lockdown, which is what will the impact of social distancing, 2 meter social distancing, and the need to work in cohorts in order to reduce the propensity to infection. So the idea that you would try and avoid that by investing in robots and automation seems to me to be quite attractive, even to some businesses which are financially stretched, because although there's a big hit to the bottom line in terms of the capital investment, provided you do the job effectively, thereafter you have a huge amount of predictability.
For a volume bread plant that's, say, turning out 8,500 loaves an hour, we've probably got 12 people on that line in total.
Right.
And they're concentrated at the two ends, at the packaging end and at the raw materials end. So the COVID piece probably isn't a game changer for us.
What I'm worried about is the food industry becomes the plague Sally of the economy if we keep getting these COVID outbreak clusters coming from food factories. It's just not good for the industry and not good for the industry's
I think
reputation.
what COVID's done is really highlight some of the issues. And I think one of the keys to all of this in terms of how people think about it is not necessarily to try and figure out how to automate the whole process. So to me, it's about trying to find within any facility the applications that are very suited to the robots, the very mundane, the very repetitive, the arduous type applications, and then keep the people doing the tasks where you need their particular skills.
If you're not experiencing the responses that maybe you expected, don't just go to that one provider. Don't just go to your existing bank. Think about who else could provide that finance, such as different brokers. Maybe the OEMs, the robotic integrators, I'm sure, would have contacts to help provide finance for installations to help you automate some of the processes. But equally, start to think about how you then influence the decision makers in your business before you go to them for the decision. You've also got the high value manufacturing catapults, such as the Manufacturing Technology Centre in Coventry, that will offer free help and guidance. Certainly we can connect you with experts that would offer that. They will help you plan the project. They'll help you de-risk it. And of course, if you can present those findings as a part of your business case, not only will that help you secure the finance, but also it will, of course, do what it says on the tin, de-risk it.
Wishing to automate should definitely approach their OEMs. Schubert, for example, have a financing partner, and you might say, well, why should I use your finance partner? Well, what we found is that an important part of financing is, if you're taking out, for example, an operating lease, is residual values, because residual values of the equipment affect the actual payment you'll be making on a monthly basis. And if a manufacturer aligns with a financing partner, they have a much better idea, better understanding of what the residual value of that equipment will ultimately be.
Most of the stuff I've ever looked at, you're looking at 1 to 2 year payback, and most businesses will be prepared to take a punt on that. Up to 6-7 figure numbers to if the payback is genuinely there. For me, the concern has always been to try and get the depreciation off the books quickly as well. If it's a really good productivity case,
companies tend to finance their own purchases, and the target market, I think, for automation right now in the UK is the smaller businesses, the people that are actually nervous about investing a lot of money in technology they don't really understand. So, and tying up cash, which could impact on cash flows.
I think it's fair to say that historically, robot automation has not been something that's been easy to lease or apply any sort of slightly unusual financial models to it, because of the residual value at the end. That's always been the question mark. But I do think that the financial markets and also the suppliers are starting to get a lot more, getting closer together, if you like, so that there's a better understanding of how residual values could be achieved, and therefore things like asset-based finance leasing can be applied, and it's starting to happen.
Multinationals will drive their business plans through. It's the smaller, medium-sized businesses where they really need to automate, but it's just plucking up the courage to do it.
I think we'll see further use of cobot programming techniques, more use for industrial robot applications. Certainly, from the cobot point of view, they are relatively simple to program and introduce. If that type of methodology could be extended onto industrial robots, then I think there are a lot of benefits for many integrators. I think one really big game changer is actually going in the developments of vision technology. 3D machine vision has been developing for quite a few years now, and over the last 5 or 6 years that I've been using it, there have been major steps forward. But I think there's a really useful methodology literally just around the corner, and in fact starting now, and that is to use a technique known as neural networking.
We've been developing some very advanced fruit picking robotic systems through lockdown, and we've done that through a digital twin. So it's about 20 people working on it collaboratively all over the world. People in Austria, Norway, all chipping away, building a simulation of how this robot's going to work, and the control systems, the vision system integrated, it's integrated in AGV. So a very complex software stack. And we didn't touch a robot in 4 months, and it worked, not quite first time, but it was pretty good as when we got it into the real world.
Crises and actually periods of economic downturn are often the stimulants to real innovation and new ways of doing stuff. I think one of the issues for the advance of robotics is getting better acquainted as a senior manager with the potential and the difficulties, and actually having a detailed knowledge of this. And that needs to go beyond the production director. It needs to go beyond the specialist. It has to be somebody who has a significant stake in its success.
The biggest difference that most integrators could make would be to help us find a halfway house rather than go straight to lights out. So I get so many offers of here's your solution that will take everybody away, and that's when you hit the problems.
From my perspective, and when I've been a supplier, a lot of the customers tend to come along and ask for the complete solution. What you should be doing is doing it in small, easy to integrate steps, because full automation is often very difficult, and it's often the last 10% of the task that takes up 50% of the cost all the time to figure out how to do it.
So I think all that takes for me to say thank you for listening. We hope you found it useful. I'd also really like to thank the panel, who've been brilliant, and for giving up your time. It's been a fascinating discussion.